How's it going, guys? I'm here with Chuck Ragan. This is Ron from 10 West, so let's get this thing started off. Thanks for taking the time out, Chuck. I appreciate it. It means the world. So, with November coming to a close, tour brings us here to a small pizza and pub. So, how has tour been treating you so far?
Man, it's been awesome. We've been busy, just putting a lot of miles behind us, and we've been out on the road with Social Distortion, and at the same time doing some of our own shows, smaller, just intimate shows like this. So it's been great. Just a cool, diverse, mix of playing these big, massive, sold out punk rock shows to these small, intimate,
Absolutely.
And we love it, it's kind of the best of both worlds for us. So.
That's great to hear. With the punk rock, kind of tour that you're on right now, how are fans coming off to the Chuck Ragan experience?
Man, it couldn't be a better crowd for us, to be honest. Well over, the majority of the Social D crowd are either my age or older, and there's something about it. They just get it. They understand what we're doing, what we're going for, and a lot of them we're finding out, have no idea, obviously who we are, and the majority of them, they have no idea. They've never heard hot water music. They don't know where we're coming from. It's a completely different, crowd for us, and it's great. We're getting out there, just giving it our all, because for one, you're standing up in front of Social Distortion, so you have to just, get out and just charge it, give it your best, and our job as a support act is to get out there and warm folks up for the headlining act who's about to come up and blow the roof off the joint. So
absolutely.
And I feel like we're doing our job. So people are definitely getting it. They're coming up to the table. People are buying records, which is cool, and we're meeting a lot of new fans and new friends, and
that's great. It seems like you have hot water music had its own huge following, and then everybody's kind of flocking to, obviously Chuck Ragan, but I don't think you could ask for a better show, a better experience with that. Seems this is the tour that's perfect one for you to be on.
Yeah, this one, and Dropkick Murphys was the same way.
That one too.
And to be honest, like Gaslight Anthem over in the UK and Europe was the same way as well.
Awesome.
Ever since Bruce Springsteen went up and played on stage with them in Hyde Park, it's like their crowd it really grew, at least from what I saw. It grew a lot at that point, but it ended up being their crowd. I walk around, the audience, and 50% of the people are the same deal, my age or older, if not more of them, So, they kind of, even though they're coming to see a rock and roll show, I think when they see, an acoustic guitar and an upright bass and fiddle, and some guys who just come out and just give it their all. We're not your normal folk act.
Absolutely.
We're energetic and we have a great time. We love doing what we do, and we like to show people what we have.
Well, if anybody's like me, they'll be hooked from the first time they hear you. So. Hey John, can you see if they can turn down the music a little bit? You can just leave it run. It's fine.
I don't know if they will, man.
That's where I got this going.
Open.
Yeah, it's all good. No worries. We'll be pretty quick here. All right, so how does playing a smaller, more intimate venue like this compare to a larger setting, and what do you enjoy more?
Like I said, I love the diversity of it, I've always loved that. I love the intimate shows, there's nothing like, coming and playing an intimate show where the majority of the people know your songs, know the words.
Absolutely.
They're just there to really get into your songs and the music. There's no feeling like that in the world, But at the same time, on the other side of the coin, there's no feeling like getting up in front of a group of a large audience who have no idea who you are, and for the most part probably don't really care.
Yeah.
Because they're there to see the headlining act, Mm-hmm. and standing up in front of them, there's something about that fire that gets in your belly and under your skin, and it just, it doesn't matter, you kind of, I mean, that's how we get into the game, Some people may go to it a little differently, but for us, when we know that it's an audience who have no idea who we are, it charges us up even that much more. It's like,
makes you give it your all. Absolutely.
And I mean, not that we don't on these shows. It's
goes without saying.
It's a whole nother. It's just two different animals. But I just love the diversity of both.
Great. Absolutely. Your newest album, Covering Ground, is different from Feast or Famine and Gold Country in that it seems like it came straight from the soul. Can you share a bit about what influenced a few of the songs on this album?
I mean, that record has been just literally born and bred on the road. I mean, I've kind of come to a lot of realizations recently where, there was a time a few years ago where I was really trying to get away from the road, just get away from it, and kind of, I keep getting drawn back to it and sucked into it. And I kind of have a love-hate relationship with touring and traveling, and it's always been what we call the blessing and the curse. There's a lot of beautiful things about it. There's a lot of glories about it, but you make a lot of sacrifices to do it. And to me, on that record, I just kind of found, the realization that, man, this is all I know. I can do all kinds of stuff. I can do carpentry work. I love to skateboard, and I love to surf. I love to fish. I love to, build things and spend time with my dog. And I was talking to my wife. It's like, she's like, baby, this is who you are, and this is, what you've done over half of your life. One of these days, you just need to face it. Like this is what you created and the path you chose years ago, and it's the truth. And that's what I started thinking about that, and I look back, and I was born in Texas. And I was there for about over a year, and then my family moved us, and we just kept moving after that. We went from, Texas to Georgia, to Tennessee, to Louisiana, to Florida, and then out to California. And, along the way, I joined a band and started touring. So, it's just kind of, I toured with my mom when I was a kid, at a young age as a kid, and, traveled with my dad, and so it was, I've just kind of been on the move.
On the road constantly.
And just kind of has been ringing truer than ever lately. So.
Absolutely.
But that, Covering Ground is, I didn't even really set out to write a concept record in any way. It was more like, when I was trying to think of the title or whatever, I laid out all the songs that I had and was kind of going through them, and that's when it just hit me, why call it anything other than what it is? It's a road record. All these songs were either written or on or about the road, so it seems call it what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like that's your calling in life, and you keep getting drawn back to it.
Yeah, Covering Ground is just it. I think a lot of us can relate to that. One way or the other. Even if some of us are, living a stationary life, one way or the other, we're learning. We're always going somewhere, even if we're, in one place for a long period of time. So.
Absolutely, great. So on that, it's very rare to find an artist with passion and energy on the level that you bring to your shows. The Chuck Ragan experience, as I call it, is nothing short of life-changing for many. Wow. We're just itching to know, so who's the man behind the message? I know you shared a little bit about, how you grew up as a kid, but what's your story?
I don't even know where to begin on that. For me right now, if you're talking about the fire,
absolutely.
Talking about the fire, that'd be my wife, man. That's my she's my rock. She's my muse. She's everything that, you know, the reason that I'm alive right now. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, if I had to answer that question, I mean, I'd answer it again and again and again. You know, it's her. And I mean, like, it was her a long time ago that, you know, when Hot Water went on a hiatus. I've been writing this kind of music for years, even all through Hot Water music. I just never put that much focus on it, and I never really tried to hone it, or, you know, it was just something that I did, and I recorded stuff even through, you know, the years like Rumble Seat stuff, and even before that. But you know, it wasn't until, you know, we went on that hiatus, and I went back to my trade and was just working, and I would come home from work, sit around in the kitchen and just bang on the guitar and write songs, and we'd cook dinner and get up the next day and do it all over again. And one day she just encouraged me. She's like, "Baby, you need to get out and go record some of these songs, get them off your chest, you know,
Absolutely.
Go lay them down." And I mean, at the time it wasn't even, you know, wasn't even talking about, I mean, doing anything with them, and I definitely wasn't thinking about touring. You know, I mean, we were trying to start a custom home building business. You know,
Okay.
Like we were in a different direction.
I gotcha.
But yeah, man, it's definitely, you know, she's a massive part of it. But not only that, I mean, it's my family, my friends, my loved ones. I mean, that's what life's all about.
Absolutely.
More than anything. I look forward to having children, and then when that happens, you're going to have to ask me that question all over again.
Yeah,
I'll probably
exactly.
give you a whole different answer.
I'm sure I will, yeah. So, what was it like growing up, and how did that influence you to be the musician you are today?
I mean, I grew up in a very strong-willed household, you know, a very loving household. My mother and my father couldn't have been more loving to my brother and I, and you know, they've always been supportive, but when it came to wanting to play like punk rock or loud music, when I found skateboarding and found that, they didn't want me to touch that.
No part of it, huh?
No. You know, they did buy, you know, take my electric guitar, my first electric guitar that I begged for, took it away from me and replaced it with an acoustic.
Okay.
And that was cool. But I mean, growing up, to me, I grew up in this old Southern Baptist household, and there was a lot of, you know, we went to church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday evening. You know, I mean, I went to Christian schools, and, you know, at a young age. You know, so I mean, I grew up with surrounded by a lot of gospel, a lot of spiritual-driven music. But then at the same time, on my mother's side of the family, we're all Cajun folks. So there was a lot of Creole music and that, you know, in our life. And you know, obviously, I was born and raised in the Southeast, so there's country everywhere. But like I said, then I found skateboarding, and that just, like, you know, put me in a whole nother direction.
Pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, but I think you know, I think a lot of the, you know, that early stuff, and you know, the music that kind of I remember hearing at you know, at an early age, definitely, I could definitely see it coming out in a lot of ways, you know, what I'm doing nowadays. Which I think, you know, I think that's a common thing. Whatever, you know, whether you're into it or not, whatever you kind of were raised around or influenced by or inspired by, even if you didn't necessarily like it, even if it was something that was around you all the time, you know, and it charged you somehow, you know. I mean, you know, there was a lot of the early, you know, Christian music that I grew up around that, you know, especially when I was rebelling and, you know, I didn't believe in it, you know, but I loved it. Like,
right.
It was all about the energy and just a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. It's born in you. So,
Yeah.
when did you pick up your first guitar, or should I ask, when did the guitar find you?
I asked. I remember getting a guitar when I was super, super young, but I never. It was more just like a plaything around the house. But when I actually really wanted to get one, I want to say I had to be either 11 or 12 years old. And I was telling about how my parents did. I begged them for an electric guitar, and there's this little shop that had the set, you know.
Okay.
It was like the guitar and the amp and the strap and the pick, and it was black, and it was just cool, and like all I wanted to do was just
all
turn
day
it up
long
and bang on it. And I finally talked my folks into getting it, and they went and they got the guitar, and they took me home, and I went in my room and just like, man, I just plugged it in, cranked up all the knobs, and I didn't even realize that you had to press down on the frets to make a chord. So I just went in, turned all the knobs up, and started banging on it, and they let me go for 15 minutes or so, and then my dad just came in, man, and just like door flew open. They picked all that up, and I never saw it again. And
oh boy.
oh man, I couldn't stand them for that. And then I went to school, and I remember coming back. There was an acoustic guitar leaning against my bed. So
very cool. What kind was it?
If I can remember right, it was either an Alvarez or. Trying to remember the logo. It's kind of a generic.
Jog your memory.
No, it wasn't an Alvarez. It was kind of a generic. It was like a cheap, can't remember. It started with an O.
I'm not sure.
Omni or something like that. I can't remember. It's kind of a generic
gotcha
guitar. Little dreadnought style guitar. Like this, but just like a cheap one.
So you just picked up acoustic from there, and it was all.
Yeah, and my dad had a buddy that he always played golf with, who used to go around Nashville. He wrote a bunch of songs, and he tried to take a stab at having a career in music, and it just didn't pan out. And he ended up following his career in golf. But he used to come over to the house, and he taught me just basic chords, and we used to sit around and play like. Sitting on the dock of the bay, and Brown Eyed Girl, and whatever, just kind of whatever came to mind. He was like a Rolodex of songs, and I used to not necessarily even learn them, just kind of sit there and strum along with them, and that was before I ever learned how to play a bar chord, anything like that.
So you kind of more or less, you didn't learn music, you just went with the soul. You went with the song.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes I wish I would have learned how to read music. I've had a lot of friends who, have grown up in school.
Okay.
But I mean, man, whatever.
Whatever you learn best. I'm a firm believer that music has to come from the soul. In order to learn it. I mean, you can learn music, but it doesn't mean you know how to make it. So.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a beautiful thing, the love and commitment you share with your wife Jill. If it's not too personal, what's life like at home, and how has she influenced your career that you haven't already touched on?
I mean, she's the hardest working woman I've ever known in my life, and I mean, she doesn't get near enough credit, for what she's done for my music and the Revival tour. And just everything, where I'm at right now, and she's, like I said, I mean, she's just the rock in my life, and home life is, man, I mean, it's just a beautiful thing, and there's definitely not enough of it in our life, but like I said, I mean, that's where we're at right now, I'm not home.
Yeah,
You know,
unfortunately,
it's hard. I mean, that's we both understand that that's kind of the sacrifice, and you know, we come to terms with it, and we just do our best to maintain, you know, the connection. And I mean, she comes out on a lot of tours, but ever since we got our dog, you know, she doesn't come out on any of the super long runs. So.
Chocolate Lab, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
What's the name?
Ella Fitzgerald.
Ella Fitzgerald. That's awesome. Very cool.
She's a good girl.
I see. Yeah, absolutely.
The best.
So when not on the road, how do you spend your time? Can you give us some real Chuck Ragan facts, since you broke our hearts saying the Twitter group at Chuck Ragan facts are not actual facts?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of that goes unsaid. I mean, for us, you know, I don't want to, you know, break anybody's hearts, but life on the road isn't nearly as glamorous as a lot of people might think. There's a lot of just a lot of miles. There's a lot
absolutely.
of, you know, I mean, just to give you an example, on this tour alone, we'll probably spend an average of, I don't know, maybe 6 hours in the van every single day. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
there it is.
there's a lot of it, you
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of your life, you know, and
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we were on, where were we, on the last Dropkick tour, and we were in traffic, in Pittsburgh, gridlock traffic, and one of the boys was like looking around, he's like, man, I can't believe these people commute in this every single day. And I was like, and everybody's kind of quiet, and we started thinking about it. I'm like, man, what do you mean? Like, we commute
Right,
like 6
exactly.
hours a day, you know, and that kind of led to a whole other, you know, us kind of breaking it down. We kind of figured it out. I think we're doing, this year we're doing about somewhere between 168 and 180 shows, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, you know, whatever it was, I think between all the drives, we did the math, and it came out to be something like 792 hours in transit, like, and that didn't include any flights of getting there or getting overseas. That's just like going from one show to the next, you know,
That's
like
insane.
in the van or the bus, which ended up being something like almost like a, you know, whatever. I don't know. Somebody would have to do the math
I can't
right
do
now.
it in my
but
head.
It was something like 30 days or close to 30 24-hour days straight.
Yeah.
Like a month of just sitting
Travel time.
in the van.
Oh,
You know?
man.
And I mean, we love to listen to music, and reading's great, and looking out the window's nice. You know, calling family and friends, but mercy.
There's only so much one person can take.
Hey man, yeah, and I mean, we don't take a whole lot of days off on the road, so I mean, but yeah, I mean, so that's a true Chuck Ragan fact. I spend, you know, a good, you know, quarter of the day in a van.
Sorry to disappoint you followers over there, but what about?
I like bubble baths too. That's a true.
That's
fact.
a good one.
There you go.
Yeah, more
That's a
like
true fact.
and the at-home Chuck Ragan.
Yeah. Oh no, on the road too, man. If we get in a place, you know, but Epsom salt. I'm telling you, you know.
You need to be like the Epsom salt
You
Old
get
Spice
sore.
guy.
No, I don't like not the Old Spice. No, you could
All right.
cut that, throw that rumor right out the window.
I gotcha.
But the Epsom salt, absolutely. I'm sore, man. I sit in the van
I
all
don't blame
day.
you. Yeah. I mean, hey,
Sit
you
in
gotta
the
be
van.
doing the same thing. Shit. So, when not on the road, how do you spend your time at home? Actually, I think I just said that one. Excuse me. So, according to Chuck Ragan Facts, this was on there today. Chuck Ragan doesn't use text messages. He simply shouts his message into the air, and the wind takes over from there. Can you give us a? Can you confirm this? And it sounds to me like you and Chuck Norris facts should go on a run for your money.
Yeah, maybe we should. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's, shouting is a lot cheaper than texting. Sometimes, if you want to save a buck, just shout, just holler at your friend.
There's ones for you guys then. So, what would you be doing today if you weren't a musician?
I'd probably most likely be following my trade in carpentry.
Carpentry?
Finish carpentry at that.
Very cool. To have you build me a house one day.
I'll get right on that. I got plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely. How did the camaraderie that is yourself, John Gott, and Joe Ginsberg come to be? Where'd you find those guys?
John I met in Virginia years ago in a basement show with Hot Water, if I can remember right. Him and I met in a saltine cracker eating contest. It's true. There's Chuck Ragan facts for you. John Gaunt facts for you. Yeah. That's what I need to do, is start a John Gaunt.
You do. I guarantee it's going to be sprung up after this interview.
It's happening. It's coming. Yeah. Yeah, but we met, and he beat me.
What was the number? Do you remember? Jog your memory?
It was 5. I mean, we were eating 5 crackers. So,
okay.
But I think you had to do it under a minute.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do.
I'm sure it would be.
We used to, after we did that, we used to take that on the road, and we would, place bets everywhere. We would, like a buck.
Mm-hmm.
Crackers were cheap, and it was fun. But I've known John Gaunt for years, and then him and he played on some rumble seat stuff. I want to say maybe. Man, I mean, it had to be a good 9 years ago, 10 years ago, even.
Yeah, somewhere around.
I mean, it was quite a while ago, and then we played on he came and played with me on the fest. I was playing the fest. You might have to ask him. I think it maybe 7 years ago or something like that. And then ever since then, we just kept going. I think so. Yeah.
Just stayed in touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when we played that fest, I can't remember what year that was, but when we played it, a couple weeks later, I called him up. I said, "Come on out and record this record with me." That was Feast or Famine.
Okay.
And then right before he flew out, that's when we booked a show for Los Feliz and recorded Los Feliz. So I flew him out. He was there for a week, and we did 2 records.
Wow.
And just threw him in the fire. He barely had rehearsed, and he just jumped in and nailed it. And then after that, we just hit the road and been going since. And Joe Ginsberg, I met through a mutual friend of ours, and we did our first tour back in August of 2010, and have been running since. So
Seems more recent.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, you guys work amazing together.
We have a blast, man, and I'm honored to share the stage with those guys at any chance I get. I love them to death.
Very good guys. I had the chance to talk to them earlier. So.
Yeah.
So I hear your newest side project with Scott Toy for Is Better in the Wind is definitely worth checking out. What was it like writing the score for it, and what was your inspiration for a few of those originals?
I mean, the inspiration was his work. He approached me and asked if I would be into writing some music for it, and I was just thrilled to do it. And then he showed me some photos, and he showed me some footage. And it was awesome. And I ended up writing The Fire, the Steel, and the Tread for him. That was the first one, and sent it, and he loved it. And then he kept sending me stuff, and I was like, man, I'm gonna keep writing, and you just tell me when you got enough,
Absolutely.
But I just really enjoyed it, and I've loved doing stuff like that. I had the opportunity to do that with that film Between the Lines when I wrote a lot of music for that, and I really enjoy, taking a look at stuff and reading up on something and taking that perspective of it, putting it in a song or putting it to music and just scoring, composing. It's fun. I would love to do more of it.
Excellent. Well, I hope to see more of it too. Like, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's fun.
The Revival Tour is already in planning stages for next year. So in the past, West Coast as well as Europe have been lucky enough to see a show. Can you shed some light on the 2012 tour? And do you think there'll be any significant changes or anything done differently? As well as maybe we'll see a Chicago date?
I'm sure you'd see a Chicago date. And all I can say is, man, follow us on Twitter, or just follow, keep in touch, and we're about to start. We're about to start announcing some stuff, and we're all really, really excited about it.
Definitely. So it's under wraps for now.
Coming. It's coming.
Can't wait for it. Can't wait for it. So for you, what is an ideal show, and what makes a show a memorable?
I mean, I love, an ideal show is just connecting with the people, who spend their time and their money and their energy, to come out to the show and simply meeting them halfway. Like, to me, if I go to a show, I want to go. I want to see something, positive. I want to see somebody who really wants to be there. I want to see somebody having a good time. That's why I listen to music. That's why I've taken music in my life. And to me, that happens when the audience and a performer or a group meet each other, halfway. And that to me is ideal. Absolutely. Some go over better than others, but for the most part, I mean, that's the key. That's all good.
All right. What can we expect from you in the future?
We're going to keep trucking. I mean, the Revival Tour is going to keep on coming around as long as people have it and, are into it. We'd love to just bring it anywhere and everywhere that we can, and actually, do good for local communities as well with it, and give back to the communities that have, given us everything over the years and have kept us coming back. So that's the least we could do. But so we're working on the Revival Tour. I'm always writing, music for my own stuff. We're in the process of writing new hot water music songs. Eventually, we'll do a new record down the road. So quite a bit, man. Just gonna keep writing and recording and
keep a lot of people pretty anxious with it. Yeah, absolutely. Anything that was left out that you'd like to add?
No, I just want to, to say the least, I'm just really thankful and honored that people care as much as they do, and for all the support that everybody's given us, especially this past year, 2011, has been, it's really been intense. I mean, we've had the opportunity to tour with Social Distortion and Dropkick Murphys and Brian Fallon from the Gaslight Anthem and Pan from the Trio and Loved Ones, Dave Hawes, and everybody on the Revival Tour, and done a lot of stuff with hot water music. I mean, it's just been it's been an intense year, but, and we're all beat up and rough around the edges, and but we wouldn't be able to even carry on if it wasn't for folks who, really showed their support and come out to the shows and make it to the local record stores to keep them open. And I mean, can't thank the folks enough.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time, Chuck.
Yeah,
make sure you guys go pick up Covering Ground. It's in stores now, as well as follow Chuck Ragan and the guys on Twitter. Make sure to follow the Revival Tour as well and stay up to date on all the new happenings as well as next year's tour. So thanks again, Chuck. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
All right, guys. It's good. Thanks so much. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, John. I appreciate that, man.